And we're so happy to be joined now by Stephen MARCHISIO, French ambassador to Singapore. Thank you so much for joining us here at Inspire and Connect.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's wonderful to have you. Let's start with something very exciting. President Macron's recent state visit to Singapore really marked a new chapter for us in our bilateral relationship. So from your perspective, Stephen, how did that visit strengthen ties between France and Singapore?
Well, let me say, we're celebrating this year the 60-year anniversary of Singapore and of the bilateral relationship between France and Singapore. So having the French president for a state visit in the region and in particular in Singapore was of course very important for us. I have to say that you may know that the political views of France and Singapore towards the region, towards its opportunities, its challenges of course, are very similar. So having the president coming to Singapore in a year after the election of the new US president, where the competition between the US and China have risen by far. So it was an important message for us, and I think for the region, and of course for Singapore.
Absolutely. We want to talk about when it comes to innovation as well. What concrete results came out of this visit that point to a new phase of collaboration between France and Singapore?
I said we were celebrating the 60-year anniversary, which doesn't mean that we were looking backwards. We wanted to look ahead of us and of course preparing the future, preparing the next years, the next more than 60 years ahead of us. Innovation, it's the core of the new industry, the new industrial revolution with AI, with quantum of course, with a lot of technologies going on. So we wanted this visit to embark all what we do in terms of cooperation between France and Singapore, from defense to culture, but innovation and energy were at the core of the visit. And we upgraded our bilateral relationship to what we call the comprehensive strategic partnership with Singapore, which is the highest level for the cooperation with Singapore, and innovation and also energy, I have to say, are at the core of this partnership.
Wonderful to hear. And let's look at the business side now. We know that French companies have been part of Singapore's story since its independence in 1965 in infrastructure, in transport, semiconductors, and now, of course, frontier technologies. So what makes Singapore such an appealing base for French businesses, and how is the new generation of French tech startups also building on this legacy?
A few things. First, trust. With all that I've said about the bilateral relationship, you may imagine that the level of trust between the two countries is very important, which means that in very sensitive sectors, and on AI now, LLM, but also new industrial process with AI, we need this trust between the countries, the people and the companies to be able to work together. But if you look at Singapore, on your everyday life for a Singaporean, a lot of things that are happening in this life is made with French companies being a part of it. Airport, port, the metro, the transportation system. So these French companies, they know Singapore quite well. So in terms of innovation, new frontier technologies, we have this past, we have this long-standing cooperation. So we are ready to move forwards for the technologies to come.
Wonderful to know that trust is at the heart of this. And finally, a last word for our audiences here today. What message would you like to leave them with about the future of France-Singapore cooperation in innovation?
Listen, we have a complete ecosystem in Singapore. Of course, the French embassy, but the French Chamber of Commerce, Bpifrance, celebrating its 10-year anniversary of presence in Singapore. The advisor for the foreign trade, the French advisor for the French trade. So we have this whole ecosystem, plus 1,000 French companies based in Singapore. So all this ecosystem makes it very, I'm not going to say easy, because Singapore remains very competitive. So it's not easy, but we have a baseline in the landscape that makes it very likely that you can succeed in Singapore.
Okay, it's great to hear that we know that Singapore and France have such strong ties, and we look forward to seeing how we can collaborate more in the future. That was Stephen MARCHISIO, French ambassador to Singapore. We hope that you enjoy Inspire and Connect today. Thank you so much for joining us here on the TV set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen.